Brodes Media.
I love Emilio Cigars. I truly, truly do. Emilio Cigars sponsor this outstanding podcast, and it makes a lot of sense because they are the most outstanding cigars on planet Earth. There is only one cigar to smoke, ladies and gentlemen, and what I love to do is kick back summer nights, put my feet up on the porch, and puff, puff, puff away, thinking about the Flyers, thinking about the Phillies. There's just no better taste in the world than an Emilio cigar. New school attitude, old school roots, locally owned, third generation, made at Fábrica Oveja Negra in Nicaragua. And this is what I'm going to tell you to do. You can click the link down below in the description and get 10% off your entire purchase if you utilize the promo code BRODES10. That's BRODES10 with the link down below. Boom. Boom. 10% off these delicious Emilio cigars. If you're playing golf, make sure you get some for the boys. If you want to be like me and just enjoy a nice casual Tuesday night, Wednesday night out back, bada bing, bada boom, Emilio cigars. You can also go to your local tobacco shop and ask for Emilio cigars. So everywhere. They're everywhere for you, baby. Make sure you join the Emilio Cigar family today. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Brodes. Let's talk about day one of free agency around the NHL. And unfortunately, the biggest news was a devastating hit to a young winger in this organization. It wasn't about getting somebody who's going to walk through those doors at Voorhees and help turn this thing around. It wasn't about landing a decent fish. It was never going to be the big daddies, all right? It was never going to be the Mitch Marners of the world. It was never going to be some huge, massive swing this offseason. But it would be nice to walk away from day one with a little bit of pop, a little bit of excitement. Instead, it's the complete opposite. It's devastation, as Tyson Foerster is going to miss significant time to start the year, according to Anthony Sanfilippo of Snow the Goalie and On Pattison. Apparently, throughout the offseason, there was an injury that went down, and there is a bicep injury. He went to Vancouver to go to a specialist. There's no timetable currently, but I heard some rumblings about this over the last couple of weeks, and it seemed like it was inevitably going to be reported. It's just more about when and how they were going to label it publicly, and this is where we're at right now, and it sucks because I'm a huge fan of Tyson Foerster. I think he's going to be a big foundation piece, and he was playing with a lot of confidence after what transpired with Team Canada at the end of last season. He had 3 points in 7 games and won a beautiful, disgusting goal as he's driving the crease and he's just using his body and he's displaying power, and it just looks so damn good. And I was really excited to see him take all that knowledge, take all that information, playing with some of the names that he was playing with Team Canada, and apply that to his offseason, apply that to the start of next year, and now he gets knocked down a few pegs. But you never know. With some of these athletes that are great, when you do get knocked down, it only makes you stronger. It only brings that desire out of you even more, that hunger to prove that when you step back on the ice, you're not skipping a beat. You're going to work your ass off, and you're going to be an impact player. You're going to score to be on pace for 30. He finished with 25 last year. He probably won't get to 30, obviously, with the time missed. I mean, he won't. All right, I'm being a jerk off. He obviously won't. But can he be on pace for 30 with the limited amount of games he gets whenever he does return to the ice? That's a statement that could help, push just the morale in the right direction following such disappointing news. But it sucks, man. We're excited for Zegras. We're excited for year 2 of Matvei Michkov after he talks to Danny Briere and gives him notes on how he wants to improve. Not Danny giving Matvei notes. Matvei giving Danny notes on what he wants to do to make sure he's putting his body and he's putting himself in the best position to take a large leap in year 2. all of that is moving the needle and giving me fire thinking about puck drop for this upcoming season. I'm excited to see what the Rick Tocchet experience is like, even though I sort of went, all right, at the time of the signing. I want the Flyers to be great. So let's see what this all is. Tyson Foerster was a huge part of why my fancy was being tickled thinking about the orange and black at the Wells Fargo Center next year. And now he will be missing some severe time here. And it just blows, man. I can only imagine. And there's no reporting on how it actually happened. It's disclosed. But think about it. You're in the weight room, you're hang cleaning, you're doing dumbbell reverse lunges, you're doing back squats, maybe you're doing the slide boards, you're doing everything you can to be properly conditioned for training camp. You're making sure you're communicating with Thoat and Briere, and this is where they see you this year, and this is where you need to be, and you're just super pumped about that opportunity, so your tail is being worked at the gym, and you're dripping sweat and you're hitting the sauna and you're properly foam rolling and stretching and going through all sorts of different things for your body to get right, and then boom, you get hit with something that is such a big time smack in the face and a demoralizer. Let's be honest, man, there is nothing worse than when you can't be available, when you can't put on the skates, when you can't shoot the puck. Whatever is not allowing you to be on the ice, it is a grueling time. And I don't know if that's the right word. Sounded right in the moment. We're just going to fly right past it. But yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks. It sucks. Flat out bummer. All right, now let's get into more of what the Flyers did or didn't do on this Tuesday, July 1st. There were a lot of reports before Corey Perry went to LA that the Flyers were involved and interested in the 40-year-old winger. My first initial reaction when I saw that this morning was, what the hell are we doing? And of course, I think I know what they were trying to do if they could have landed him. Bring in veteran experience, bring in someone in the room, a lot of Stanley Cup finals. He's pesty. He plays with that nastiness. And I'm sure, based off of what we saw with size over the weekend with the draft and how they watch the Panthers, they want that. And they want their young players to learn that. So that would be part of their mentality while bringing him in. But that's where I started to align the Tyson Foerster thing a bit as well, which is, all right, here's another wing, and then the Shabanov thing. If he's able to come over to the KHL and pick the Flyers to be his destination, a lot of wing heavy. I'm wondering if there is a wing that is dealing with something. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was trying to align the pieces here. But if they did it, yeah. Am I just being a sour prick? Because some believe I'm being a sour prick. I don't like much of what they did today. Truth be told, I don't. Dvorak is getting $5.4 million as a bottom six forward? No, he may get you 30 points, right? A couple of bingos, maybe double-digit bingos, and play fourth line center, play bottom six role. 5.4? That's crazy talk. Now, with a one-year deal, it's not going to destroy your franchise, and if the Flyers are out of it at the time of the deadline, you send him somewhere else, you get assets in return. Not that it would be a lot of money, or a lot of assets or a lot of compensation, I meant to say. In return will be draft picks, but it's not going to be anything that'll blow your socks off. But this isn't going to set your franchise up for disaster by any means. But it just seems like a miscalculation of the market. You wanted this guy that bad that you were willing to go that much of a reach and take that type of cap hit for this type of player? I just don't know how that makes a lot of sense to me when maximizing your availability, maximizing your space. And maybe they think we don't need to maximize it and be super creative and thread the needle with our money because we know where we stand. We're not trying to make sure we slither around the finances to put the best team out there to try and one up another competitive squad that's going to potentially be in the top 3 of the Metropolitan so we can work our way into the playoffs. So, hey, we throw an extra $1 million here, whatever. We're just going to be a scrappy team watching our youth grow anyway. And if that's the case, this extra $1 million, this extra 1.2, overpaying one guy on a 1-year contract, I just want to make sure we can replenish with a bottom 6 forward who's going to bring the right work ethic, bring the right mentality, can help out because he can produce, and that's why we did it. And I'm talking as if I'm Danny Briere right there, and that's probably how they feel. It's just too much money for such a limited player, but it's not going to crush you. Do with that information what you will. The goalie. This is what irritates me most. The goal this offseason was to get somebody better than Erson. Do you know how many times, whether it's hockey fans, whether it's casual hockey fans that want to get back involved with the Flyers, they say, Brodes, where is the goalie coming from? And I would say you have Savargin in the KHL. It doesn't seem like they have what you want right now with the big club, whether it's Fedotov, that was a swing and miss, Kolosov, swing and a miss, Erson, nowhere close to being consistent enough to be a starting goalie in this league. So you just don't have it. You got to hope and pray that a Savargin, for example, can step right in eventually whenever he gets his nod and help turn this franchise around. Or if you want to monitor the Carter Hart court stuff and see how that plays out, have fun. But, yeah. Ugh. What they elected to do was go to Calgary and sign Vladar. Now, Vladar, once your save percentage starts with an 8, I start to throw up. He was about 30th in the league in goals against average. He's worse than Erson. Your goalies are going to be a massive problem. And what I would say to everyone that asks where the next guy is coming from, it was either Savargin or I labeled it in football terms, a Kirk Cousins type. Someone who can just help out, stopgap, give you the 1A minutes, and then Erson could be the 1B. Whether it's Allen, who signed a weird deal with the Devils, right? Longer term, but very small AAV, right under $2 million. Go make it happen. Whether it's what the LA Kings did. There's something there and out there. The job was to get better than Erson. Now, it was getting danced around before Thatcher Demko signed his big ticket, and that's definitely a lot of AAV for a goalie that's injured, but he is a superstar when he's in the nets. I could understand not taking that risk, sending that much money in his direction. Now, it wasn't super long, but he got a lot of AAV. That type of star talent and top-tier talent and high ceiling is something that you could sway me into taking a calculated risk. I don't care how you got it done. The job was to get better in between the pipes. We did not. And I don't want to hear, well, he's better than Kolosov. He's better than Fedotov. I'm not doing it. That wasn't the job. That wasn't the standard. That was not the duty of Danny Briere. He has to get creative. He needs to get better in between the nets. You cannot survive. You can't work on your D-zone coverage with Erson in net. You just can't. You can't. He's allowing goals from outside the dots. He's allowing goals, little muffins that can't go through. No! How do you work on your D-zone? How do you work on your positioning? How do you work on your breakout passes? All that stuff if your goalie is allowing in crap. Now, there are games where it's okay, But the problem is, for all the games where he does show up and look like a brick wall, there's 50% of absolute trash that he allows. And it's too much. And he's too inefficient. And it's unacceptable. And I think Danny Briere had a job to do by improving the goaltending situation. I'm not saying go get your franchise guy. I'm not saying go get the best goaltender to ever exist, and now we're all waving pom-poms because we got a superstar, even though I guess it was possible to maybe steal Thatcher Demko from the Vancouver Canucks with Tocchet's great relationships with players and all that. Maybe you could have made that happen, but if you didn't, fine. I could understand if you didn't. You can't go Vladar. You can't go Vladar. Who gets a no movement, by the way, limited no movement. Who do you think you are? Why is a guy like Vladar getting a no movement with about 8 teams? I mean, that's sad. What else went down? Well, you got the Juleson type of 1 year, less than $1 million, 8 D-man, 7 D-man, Dennis Gilbert, same type of thing. I guess the next question becomes, do you get Shabanov? Is that the guy you get? Again, I hear his name pronounced 75,000 different ways. Whenever we actually figure it out, so be it. I'll get my head screwed on straight. Had about 60-something points in 60-something games in the K. Very skilled player. I do wonder, though, if some fans are putting an expectation on him that he's better than what he is. But I do think that he's got an intriguing skill set. But I think people put him as an automatic top 6 forward in the NHL. I don't know if that's the case. Would I be surprised if he's more of a third liner? No, I wouldn't. Because I think with his unique skill will probably come with some things that are similar but different in a way of Zegras. There are people who look at Zegras and it's like, wow, if he can do this, that, and the third. There's a part of me that wonders if Zegras is just Zegras. And eventually he gets kicked out the wing. Or eventually something else happens. Where he's not a 1C. He's a lesser C. Because there are just certain parts of his games where he's super skilled, but there are just certain areas lacking. Very worth the calculated risk. But in a way, I wonder with Shabanov if there is something to be said about where his game and his style is sort of what it is. And it can work at the NHL level. But let's not put the label and the standard on him that he's a top 6 forward on a Stanley Cup contender. If that makes sense. I don't want to start taking shots over at Zegras. I think it was the right move by Danny. I think it's a very intriguing move by Danny. I think it's an exceptional move by Danny. I think there's some pop to his name. I think he can definitely get new life and new urgency and just a new style of play under Tocchet in a new place, and playing with Michkov can help elevate him and all that kind of stuff. But there are things about his game that may be on the finesse side, and maybe you can pull something new out of him. Maybe that's who he is. I think with Shabanov, there might be parts of his game that limits how great he can be, and maybe that lowers the ceiling where it's not what everyone's talking about. But that doesn't mean I don't want him. It's a calculated risk, worth taking. He's super scaled, that whole thing. But for a guy that nobody has really seen play other than some crazy highlights of him putting the puck on his stick and doing all sorts of crazy 360 moves, entering the zone and whatnot, there's awfully a lot of, just talk about, like, is he a franchise changer? I don't know. But still exciting. Why do I sound such like a douchebag? Why do I feel like I sound like a fucking douchebag? I don't know, man. My lawn is great. That's what I know. Based in the Philly area and best in market. Experts in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Delaware. Green Lawn Fertilizing. They've helped me out more than I could ever imagine in a million years. And that's saying a lot because I had high expectations, okay? I had a high bar for what they were going to do, and they even excelled that. They are the best when it comes to communication. They are the best when it comes to customer service. They are the best when it comes to applying. Listen to this. Their custom blend that they have created, there's nothing like it. Boom, boom, boom. My lawn recovered. It's just amazing. And right now, you get 50% off your first 2 treatments when you click the link down below in the description. That's 50% off your first 2 treatments. The other day, they hit me up and said, "Yo, bro, you home?" I said, "Yeah." They said, listen, we're right around the corner. We're just going to come by and check things out and see how it's all progressing. They walked around a little bit. 5 minutes later, I got a call. "Hey, Brodes, everything looks phenomenal. Just wanted to peek in, just wanted to, kind of give you a little bit of info on where we are, but A+, bang." That's the type of company they are. Let me just do my due diligence. Let me just, ride on over, see what up. It's awesome. It really is. Make sure you join the Green Lawn Fertilizing family today. All right, with that, let's go to the phones and see how you are feeling out there. Let's go to Amadeo to kick things off.
Well, let's see, Brodes. What's the Brodes rent for the Flyers going to be today? Most likely revolved around free agency. And granted, I'm not going to praise all these moves. That's not where I am going at all. Signing Dvorak, yeah, the money is definitely outrageous, but it is a 1-year contract, so it's not going to kill you whatsoever. And that kind of looks like the theme from their signings, is that they really just didn't want to go long-term with some of the contracts, because if you see some of the contracts that were at, like, Jake Allen, 5 years, like, that weird value was like 1.8 or something like that. That's a weird contract, and I guess, and there was, like, many other players that were just signing long-term, and I guess the Flyers just didn't want to commit long-term to players, which is very understandable at that point. Goaltending-wise, Vladar, I mean, he's better most likely than Fedotov and Kolosov, which it's not that hard to be that better. But every other goaltender that I look at, every goaltender has like a sub-900 save percentage. Was there just not that good quality goaltending out there on the market, maybe besides the trade market? The only guy you would really want to go after was maybe like a Thatcher Demko, but then he extended with Vancouver. The defensemen, they're just depth defensemen signed at league minimum. There's nothing really too much to complain about right there. And I guess at this point, you're just waiting to see what the Shabanoff decision comes to. Hopefully it ends up being the Flyers. That's where a lot of the rumors are tied to, but you just basically, it's a wait and see game because it has nothing to do with money. It's just what team he wants to go to more and what he prefers. But, I feel like there were a few people that were expecting the Flyers to address everything this free agency. They weren't going to do that. They weren't going to fix everything. A lot of these moves are just like, specifically the Dvorak one. Okay, he's depth. He's good at faceoffs. And say if you're just not in the playoff race, you flip him at the deadline for an asset. Or if you make the playoffs, it's just playoff depth. But, yeah, the goaltending tandem, most likely 50-50 split, but still not good enough. Yeah, we'll just see where it goes. Hopefully Shabanoff does sign here.
Yeah, I don't think my idea this offseason wasn't to just go out and get the big fish. I as much as early in the offseason I was messing around a tad with going after Mitch Marner. Of course they're not going after Mitch Marner. Of course they're not fixing every issue and all that, right? But the goalie thing really does irritate me because everybody and their mother, you can't develop as a team and as a core if you can't stop the puck at a reasonable rate. And while they do have good games, okay, Urson has good games, it's way too out of control on good days and bad days. It's so unacceptable, his inefficiency and his unwillingness or his inability to be consistent. His inconsistency is really the word I'm looking for here. It's just too wild. It's too wild. And you're getting someone worse in Vladar. The goal was to get, if they did the same thing, but they picked up a Allen, for example, I would feel better. I would feel better about this. Even with the overpay for a bottom six forward or someone who maybe is your 3C or 4C. But what does this say about Jet Luchenko? Maybe they realize this dude ain't even close. Even after making camp last year and getting a taste and a cup of coffee, I would like to think if he was that close last year that the door is open for him again this year. What are we going to get out of that? Is Porter Martone going to make the team? There's some wild speculation that he's maybe ready to, right? And physically, maybe there's something there to it. But what I would like him to do is go play at Penn State if I can choose. I know there's some NIL stuff getting danced around and what he maybe could do, whether it's going back to the major junior route, whether it's playing NCAA. If you could play a year at Penn State and see where his growth is after that, that's probably what I would prefer. Selfishly, I would love for him to take that type of leap and jump, but I don't know if that's best for him. As great as he is, as maybe physically ready as he can be compared to other prospects coming out of the most recent draft, I think you got to do what's right for the player. And unless something shocks you to death, then you kind of know that he needs a year to just expand and grow his game from top to bottom. Yeah, man, this goalie thing, that's not, no. That's the smack in the face. So it's not about not getting the big name and fixing all the holes. It's not fixing that hole. It's not fixing that issue. You had to fix that issue. And while you may look at certain goalies and their save percentages in the free agency market, there are other ways to do it. He had to find a way. That was really one of the objectives this offseason. And if they look at this and say that's good enough and that satisfies them, then that's disappointing. If they look at this and realize we didn't do our job and I just don't know what else to do, we got backed into a corner, we tried certain things, it didn't work, then I would feel better because at least they know that this can't happen. But then also it's about execution. Your job is to find a way to execute. Your job is to make sure you don't get backed into a corner and you accomplish said goal. They didn't accomplish said goal. And that kind of stings. So some reaction on social media. I tweeted out my assessment on everything the Flyers have done so far today. Dvorak at 5.4 is crazy, but a one-year deal isn't going to crush you long-term. Still crazy, though. Vladar and Urson isn't good enough, and Juleson isn't good enough. That was at the time all they did when I tweeted that out. Here's some responses. Not enough to be much better than last year. It's going to be another wasted year. I mean, I don't agree that's wasted. Matvei Michkov playing 80-something games automatically doesn't make it wasted. They still did go out and get Trevor Zegras, which is a big deal. I mean, you figure out what the Foerster thing stings big time. But it's not going to be a wasted year because it's really all about the trajectory of a Michkov and the trajectory of a Zegras after a trade like that. These are the type of things that are supposed to inspire and to push you forward. So the team, it was only going to go so far this offseason, to Amadeo's point. Most likely, no matter what they did, even if they did better than what they gave us in day one of free agency, you'd still probably feel there's not a lot to do much with anyway. But it's about the development of the youth still, whether you like it or not. A lot of Carter Hart questions. I just don't think that that's something they're going to do. Adam puts a quote out here and says, we traded Joel Farabee and Morgan Frost to create cap space in order to sign players who are even fucking worse. Oh, man. Carl says, stopgap moves. Wasn't expecting much. They're a bubble playoff team at best. Will still be better than last year. I think they will be better than last year, but I don't think that they're a bubble playoff team. Not with this goaltending. You can't be. Not with this goaltending. Their goaltending's that bad. Run It Up says, let the kids play. Palmer, another ho-hum season. Might have a couple of good stretches, flirt with the playoffs, but ultimately fall short again for what feels like the 15th season of the longest rebuild ever. Make it make sense, bro. It's $5 million for an average third-line center. That still takes away money from being able to sign other players. So what are we doing? Fair enough. Goalie duo isn't good enough for what? It's pretty clear next year isn't a contending year. Logan, this is where it matters. The development of the youth is impacted by how bad the goalie is. You can't develop as much as you want to develop if you're just allowing slop nonstop. Because now it's 5-1 when it should be 2-1. Now that could be 40 minutes of play on that regular season night where it's just not the same intensity. It's not the same oomph. It's not the same, physicality. And if you multiply that by the 20 to 30 games that are just absolute abominations because of the piss poor goaltending, then you lose 20 to 30 games times X amount of periods. You could be losing 40 to 50 periods worth of real, legitimate, competitive hockey because of that. So that's where it's a problem. What else we got here? We're going to continue to have the same lame duck goaltending position. That's from Robert. Okay. Jay is upset that the cap space that we were talking about with Farabee and this and that got used for this. Understandable. It's kind of where we're at. Alrighty. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Sports Talk with Brodes. That's where I am right now. Yeah, I'm kind of like a little blah on everything that's been done. Some good things, but it's been mixed with some things, and that's leaving me sour. But I know that they did more good than bad so far this offseason. But I was just wishing that it seemed a little bit more polished. I wish it was more polished. It's definitely more polished than it's ever been, but it's not polished enough. And I think that's where my disconnect is. But the second puck drop starts in a couple months. I'm going to be all flyered up. So that's not going to stop. All right, everybody. That's going to do it. Appreciate you guys kicking it with me. Thank you guys all so much. I'll talk to you all on the next one.